This is the most important video you're about to watch right now. Hello, I want to tell you about the year when I first hit my first $1 million in revenue. I should have been celebrating. Instead, I felt that I had less money, even though I did more, but I did $400,000 less of cash, more stress, more chaos, and I thought something is wrong with me. Turns out something was wrong with the system. What I discovered last year is exactly what I'm going to walk you through right now. Because if you are growing your revenue and your profit isn't following, this is the most important video you're about to watch right now.
And if you stay until the end, I'm going to give you the exact diagnostic tool I use to find specific leak in your business for free.
Here's the question, and I want you to pay attention to this for the next few minutes. Why does growth feel harder than it's supposed to be? You build the revenue, you put the work, the numbers are bigger, but the money does not feel bigger. Why? The stress is bigger, the chaos is bigger, your to-do list got bigger, and somewhere in the back of your mind, you're starting to say and wonder, what did I miss here? I can tell you did not miss anything, but something inside your business is happening that nobody warned you about. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Stay with me. Let me describe something to you and tell me if that feels familiar. You were less stressed at a $300,000 revenue than you are right now, and you're making more money. More money in your pocket at the end of the month, and you like to have more clarity about what's happening, more free time. At least it felt that way when you are making more growth. More growth was supposed to fix everything. More revenue means more profit, right? More profit means more freedom. That was the deal, and that's what you signed up with. And someone in between where you started and where you are right now, the deal stopped working. Revenue went up, profit did not follow. Cash feels tighter, even though the numbers look bigger. And you are working harder than ever to feel like you are standing alone and standing still. That's not a bad luck. That's not a market problem. That's a specific mechanical failure happening inside your business right now. And I'm going to show you exactly what it is. Here's what actually happening inside of your business. When your revenue grows, something else grows with it. Decision load. Every new client creates decisions. Every new employee creates questions. Every new dollar you put in of revenue creates more complicity that routes eventually back to you. And here's the part that kills the profit. Every decision that routes to you costs you something you cannot get back. It costs you the bandwidth of the owner, your attention, your capacity to think clearly, your ability to look up from the details and actually see what's happening. And here's the brutal truth and the math of it. The bandwidth it takes you to make decision all day is the same bandwidth you need to see where the profit is leaking. Think about that for a second. You need the mental space to catch a vendor contract that bleeding about $40,000 a year. You need attention to notice the pricing that has not been updated in 2 years. You need clarity to see those clients that are quietly unhappy and they start going to somewhere else. But all of that bandwidth, every bit of it, it's being consumed by the daily decisions. So the leaks keep running, invisible, unnoticed, and growing, while you're too busy making approval to look up and see them.
Okay, quick recap before we get into the math. 1. Growing revenue grows decision load. 2. Decision load kills your bandwidth. 3. No bandwidth means the leaks keep running.
Now here's the part I need you to really hear. Because most people look at this the wrong way. They think I have a revenue problem. I need to grow more. More revenue fixes the problem, right? That's what everybody told us, and that's what we know. More revenue is going to fix everything. But watch what happens to the math when you do that. Let's say you have a leak in your business. Not an obvious one, an invisible one, the kind that does not show up on your P&L. Slow follow-up that lets your hot lead go cold. Pricing inconsistency that leaves money on the table every single time. Vendor contracts nobody looked at in 2 years, and it is on an auto renewal. At $300,000 revenue, that costing you about 10%, which is $30,000 a year. But it's not painful. It's okay. You still can grow, right? You push harder, you add clients, then you hit about $1.5 million. You did everything right, but the leak's still there. Same leak, same percentage, bigger number. Now it's at $150,000 cost, gone. Not because you got worse, because you poured more revenue into the same broken system. And the leak scaled with it. Now I go back. That's why that year I hit $1 million worth of revenue. I felt like I have less money, and it was $400,000 less. Not because I was failing, because I was pouring more and more revenue into the broken system that has holes on the bottom. The growth was not creating profit. It was creating more pressure on the same cracks, and the cracks were getting wider as I'm adding more revenue. Here's the advice most founders get when the profit does not match the revenue. Grow more, push harder, get more clients, drive more revenue, the money will catch up with it.
Stop. I want to challenge something you've probably been told. The advice, just grow more, sounds logical. But here's the version of that advice nobody gives you.
More water in the bucket eventually fills the bucket. But here's the big problem. If the bucket has holes in it, pouring more water in faster does not fill it. It just makes the leak spray harder. The pressure increase, the holes widen, and you end up working twice as hard to maintain the same margin you had when the business was half of the size. That's the trap. Growing the revenue is growing the chaos, growing the decisions, growing the leaks when the system is broken. And every single founder and business owner I have ever watched fall into this trap said the same thing afterward. I thought if I just grew more, it would fix itself, because growth does not create profit problem. Growth reveals them. Let me say that again, because it's the thing that changes everything. Growth does not create profit problems. Growth reveals them. At a $300,000 a year, they were small leaks. At a $1.5 million, they were the same leaks, just 5 times bigger. Same broken follow-up process, 5 times more leads falling through. Same pricing gap, 5 times more deals leaving money on the table. Same vendor contract that nobody renegotiated, but it is 5 times the annual bleed now. You didn't bleed new problem when you grew. All what you did, you built a bigger version of the same problems. They were already there. And the business owners and founders who figured this out, they stopped trying to outgrow the leaks. They stopped believing that more revenue is the answer. They do something completely different. They look at where the profit is actually going. They find the leaks with real numbers attached, and they plug them first before they push for the next level of growth. And here's what happens when they do that. The next push for growth actually creates profit for the first time, because now the revenue has somewhere to land instead of running out through the cracks in the floor. So here's the honest question. If you are at $500,000 of revenue, or $1 million, or $2 million, and profit does not feel like it matches what you are building, the answer is not push harder for more revenue. The answer is to look at where the current revenue is going before reaching you. The slow follow-up that letting hot deals go cold. The pricing you haven't looked at in 18 months. The vendor you have been overpaying because renegotiating requires your attention and you don't even have it. The labor cost that costing you too much for less output for someone who's barely working. Those leaks exist in your business right now. And guess what? They existed when you were smaller. And the longer you wait to find them, the more revenue you have to pour in to just stay in the same place. Look, the profit leak diagnostic shows you the single biggest profit leak, the one that growing with your revenue right now. And it shows you with real numbers, real amount, not guesses, not percentage, real numbers, I'm saying. And you know what? It gives you 90-day roadmap to plug it before your next push for growth. So when you grow, the profit finally follows. Click on the link below.
The diagnostic takes less than 10 minutes. You will walk away knowing exactly where your profit is going and what to do about it this week. Not next quarter, this week.
You have done the hard work building the business and building the revenue. Let's make sure your profits is not going away. See you there.